In the 1950s, Detroit peaked our population at about 1.8 million residents. And this image that you see, this is a neighborhood we call Pole Town. During this time, we were a very, very densely populated community with about 13,000 residents per square mile. I mean, we were packed in there. We also had probably about 520,000 residential dwellings at that time as well. Around the 1960s, however, we started to see a decline in our population. Everything from the civil unrest of the 1967 era to the blighted Devil's Night fires of the 70s and 80s to the housing market crash in the 2000s, we experienced a significant loss of over 65% of our population. And so when people talk about why a large-scale demolition effort, it's because we lost a significant portion of our population, and that left a lot of structures vacant. In 2014, our newly elected mayor at the time, Mayor Mike Duggan, decided that we needed to address what we knew at that time to be about 80,000 blighted structures. And he did so by sourcing $300 million in federal funds to do it. And the team at that time got together and they executed huge quantities of demos. I mean, you can see here in 2014, we demolished over 3,500 structures. In 2015, 4,000 structures. In 2016, 3,200. It just kept going. And as you can see on the map, this is how many properties that we impacted across the entire city. It was a massive undertaking, and people thought, you know, y'all sound a little crazy. You know, you're tearing down all of these structures, and they managed to tear down over 20,000 homes during that time. We were averaging about 3,300 a year, and in some cases, we topped over 200 houses in 1 week. But it wasn't without problems. If you heard anything about Detroit demolition during that era, you might have heard reports coming out about FBI probes, accusations of bid rigging, dirty dirt, you name it, it came out. And unfortunately, during this time, our residents were bombarded with this information. Some of it true, some of it only partially factual. But what we did learn throughout this period is that demolitions definitely had a positive impact on our community. And that's what was important to us. That's what was important to Mayor Mike Duggan at the time. We saw an increase in property values in areas where we performed demolitions at this rate. So by the end of 2019, Mayor Mike Duggan realized that we were not done. The first wave had addressed a little over 20,000 structures, and we were faced with potentially 16,000 publicly owned blighted structures that the residents were still dealing with. What we learned throughout that time is that we had a lot of challenges. Now, we already knew about what had happened before, but as we were engaging with the community, we learned that we had additional challenges with them as well as with our contracting community as well. The very first thing that we realized was a significant problem for us was going to be our past criticism and mistrust. No one trusted us. Bottom line, the federal government didn't trust us, the residents didn't trust us, the contractors didn't trust us. They were like, yeah, this sounds like y'all just about to start over and be some more chaos like in the past. But we knew that what we had to establish very quickly was that we had to operate from a position of transparency and accountability. And we did that by making sure that all of our information was available to not only our contractors and our residents, but anyone who had interest in the program. We also had the challenge of not being able to be everywhere at every time. When you're talking 8,000 demos, there's going to be somebody on the block who wants their demo to go first.